The lesson asks, why would anyone want to change God's law? And then they provide a quote from Selected Messages, Book 2, page 107, and they give part of the paragraph. I want to read the whole paragraph. This is what it says. Satan has been persevering and untiring in his effort to prosecute the work he began in heaven, to change the law of God. He has succeeded in making the world believe the theory he presented in heaven before his fall, that the law of God was faulty and needed revising. A large part of the professed Christian church, by their attitude, if not their words, show that they have accepted the same error. But if one jot or tittle of the law of God has been changed, Satan has gained on earth that which he could not gain in heaven. He has prepared his delusive snare, hoping to take captive the church and the world. But not all will be taken in the snare. A line of distinction is to be drawn between children of obedience and children of disobedience, the loyal and true and the disloyal and the untrue. The two great parties are developed, the worshipers of the beast in his image and the worshipers of the true and living God. So, what did you hear? Satan began a war in heaven over attacking God's law by advancing a theory that God's law was faulty and needed revising. That's the theory. What is revealed in that statement? The embedded, hidden lie in Satan's attack. There's an embedded, hidden lie that is the basis for the allegation the law needs revising or improving. What kind of law can you revise? Amend, change, update? What kind?
Arbitrary.
Imposed law, made up rules. Okay, that's it. So the embedded lie right there is that God's law is actually changeable. It's not design law. The same author, if you remember, wrote in Mount of Blessings 109 that in heaven service is not rendered in the spirit of legality. When Satan began his rebelled against the law of Jehovah, the thought that there was a law came to the angels as an awakening of something unthought of. Think that through. The only law that is in operation upon which people actually live and harmonize with, that they're not informed about, are design laws. Law of gravity type stuff. And then, you remember this, Desire of Ages 761, the opening of the great controversy, Satan declared the law of God could not be obeyed. That justice was inconsistent with mercy, and that should the law be broken, it would be impossible for the sinner to be pardoned. Every sin must meet its punishment, urged Satan. Human law requires the infliction of punishment. Design law requires healing of the damage because the punishment is inherent. You tie a plastic bag over your head, nobody has to inflict punishment when you break the law of respiration. You step off a building, nobody has to inflict punishment. You decide to smoke a pack of cigarettes today, nobody has to inflict punishment. They have to heal the damage, restore you to harmony with the law, or else you're going to die. This is design law. It's the reality of God's law. And so this idea that sin has to be punished by infliction is Satan's lie from the beginning. God's law is nothing but made-up rules. And do you see when this idea was accepted in heaven by the angels in heaven, there was rebellion, there was division. Love was damaged by accepting this idea. And do you see how Christianity has been infected with this idea? Christianity. And this is what, when you ever read the same author, she talks about Romanism. Understand what Romanism or papalism or papal powers. Many Adventists are completely lost in the weeds, arguing over the Eucharist versus the communion wafer, arguing over sprinkling versus immersion, or Sabbath versus... They're arguing over the details of the ritualistic practice and missing the entire point. Romanism is about imperialism. Romanism is an authoritarian system based on Rome where you have a supreme leader who makes up rules, laws, including canon law that the Pope makes, and everyone else is obliged to keep them. And if you don't, then you're a heretic that deserves punishment. And the punishment will be brought by the powers that the church can wield. In the Dark Ages, the church wielded the powers of the state. The church has been restrained But the church still operates on the same basic premise. And all the world drinks the wine of Babylon, drinks the intoxicating influence, and the whole world believes it is right and just to pass laws and to use power of the state to punish people who don't obey what you think they should obey. This is what righteousness is considered, or justice is considered to be. It's the entire intoxicating of the world. And the Protestant Reformation got some of the little details corrected, but most of the Protestant world still embraces the wine of Babylon, that God's law functions like human law. That's Romanism. It's not true. We're called, through Angel's message, to prepare the world for Christ's return, to worship him who made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and the fountains of water. We're called back to worship the designer, the creator of reality, whose laws are the basis of life. So the Christian world today is advancing the same lie through the penal legal theologies that teach God is the source of inflicted pain, suffering, and death in order to punish sin. That Jesus died to pay a legal penalty to God, or our legal debt, so that or to pay God off in some way. Jesus is in heaven pleading to his Father's blood, so his Father won't hurt us. That righteousness and justice is found through the infliction of just penalties for lawbreaking. And this type of thinking, when you think that way, you think that's right and just, leads members of the church to join with the state to enforce the state's laws when they believe that it is proper to do so, including the violation of consciences that we see happening in the world today. We can never achieve God's goals through Satan's methods. And God's goal is not deed performance or behavior control. His goal is love, friendship, loyalty, trustworthiness, faithfulness, unity. You can't get that through legislation. You get that only through the application of God's methods into the hearts and minds. So understand that the world has rejected God. As the world rejects God, it falls under Satan's influence. Hearts of people become corrupt. Design laws of God are rejected. Arbitrary rules and standards are elevated. Reject God, you don't practice his principles, you fall under the satanic delusion. You become more fearful, more survival-driven. Therefore, you want more control to make you feel safe. Therefore, you want to pass more laws. You want to control more people. And the hearts and minds of people are corrupted. And so what happens is darkness is called light, and light is called darkness. Truths are called hate speech, and hate speech is called truth. I'll let you just look in society and see that right now. It's absolutely true. Males are called females, and females are called males. Merit is called discrimination, and discrimination is called equity. Practices that harm are advanced as cures. Policies that injure are presented as treatments to heal. And society decays, the social fabric that makes a society healthy frays, and greater corruption occurs. This results in more fear, greater perversion, greater pain, suffering, sickness, both physical and moral, and people respond by implementing more of Satan's methods, more laws, more demands, mandates, rules, coercive government, and greater violations of liberty, which always destroys love, damages individual development, and drives to greater rebellion, division in society, and injustice and human suffering. This is what we're seeing in the world because people have forgotten God. They've embraced the godless worldview. Consider the following quotes